So one more time. Good morning, everybody. This is Jason Flores, Zwift Live by ODZ. Got about 12 or 15 riders here in the pen, 5 or so riders here in Discord. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got 24 seconds to go. We're gonna roll out and get everyone organized. We'll be on our way. 15 seconds, and we'll get this shared out to all our partners. We'll get started on our topic. Looks like I'll be riding with you guys today. All right, here we go, everybody. Nice and easy. Gotta remind everybody, easy 1.8. All right. All right, looks good, looks good. All right, everyone's grouping up on me. We'll get this out to our partners here, the different Facebook outlets. I thank everybody for your hospitality and allowing Zwift Live by ODZ to share out to your channels. We do respect everybody that allows us just that little bit of airtime in front of your community. We do feel it is an important aspect of what we do, share the information that we have. So we do thank you for that time. As we kind of populate viewers here, got some really cool additions here. Should be able to load everything up, get some information out. Looks like the group is doing good. It's got 2 riders off here. Should be catching up. Looks like they are pedaling up. We should see them here in just a moment. And we'll get started. Got one more channel to send this to. We are ready to go. All right. There we go. Everyone's there. So good morning. My name is Jason Flores. I go by JFlow here on Zwift. So definitely, if you have a chance, find me online, usually doing a workout. Throw me a ride on. I'll throw you on back. So welcome, welcome. All right. Quick medical disclaimer here. The only purpose of this live stream is to educate and to inform, and is no substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. And it's provided on the understanding that it does not constitute any medical or professional advice or services. All right, the goals of the live stream today are to present current articles in the media covering food and hydration and how it relates to sports and endurance. Open a dialogue for viewers to ask questions, to get advice, and to talk about their experiences. You can get back to pace here. A little bit of a hill. There we go. Good job, everybody. All right, we got a really interesting topic today. It's how to start your endurance rides, your workouts, your races hydrated, and why is it so important? So a lot of time, people talk about hydration, and most of the time it's about how much athletes should be drinking during your workout or during your exercise, training, or race. But they're really, really important things to talk about. But it's also because our performance is so influenced by how hydrated you are, actually not during, but also during, but also when you start, meaning your startup point. So drinking electrolyte drinks and things like that before your rides is equally important because events can, before events, because it can significantly improve your performance. And this notion is called preloading. Definitely something that's been well studied. 20 years ago, astronauts, athletes, well in the science. Something that we completely understand, but a lot of times have a tough time putting into practice. So there's not a consensus exactly, but there rarely is with a lot of science, but a lot of strong evidence that taking additional sodium with your fluids, like we've talked about in previous podcasts here, before you start sweating is very effective in promoting essentially fluid retention or water retention, your ability to remove that heat from the body. and improving your endurance performance, especially in the heat. So that's essentially what we're going to be talking about today. Just try to stay optimally hydrated. All right. So a couple topics that we'll be kind of going over, just a quick overview, is once you start sweating, and the idea that you're fighting essentially a lost battle. You're losing fluids to the atmosphere, trying to cool your body. The notion of overcompensation before a big race and how it can affect your performance. And then we're going to talk about loading. We've talked about carbohydrate loading, but can you do the same with water? That's the question. And then the question is, how do you preload? What do you do? And why do we do what we do in order to get preload appropriately? Let's go ahead and delve into that. So the notion of once you start sweating that you're losing a battle. So once we get out on our ride, you're already starting to lose fluid and electrolytes as the sweat does come out of your body. So if you're properly hydrated, you should have a pretty good reservoir of fluid to draw from over time than if you're dehydrated. So the other benefits that hydration has is that it maximizes what's called your blood volume, or the amount of essentially sweat that you have in order to cool the muscles, in order to let the muscles work, and to remove the heat from your body. This can also reduce fatigue and enables you to maintain performance for longer. So there was definitely some enlightening studies that showed that in a recent study, about 30% of us doing workouts like we are today on Zwift or on a daily basis, 30% of us are showing up dehydrated to their workouts. So definitely a lot of us. In contrast, a very high percentage of riders are showing up properly hydrated to their race. So their question is why are riders showing up so dehydrated to their training sessions to try to get optimal performance, but during their to the races, but not to their training session? So definitely not wanting to compromise their performance is essentially probably the root of that answer. So this will probably seem like common sense. Say, hey, if you're doing tiresome exercise, you starting out a little bit dehydrated, you're probably not going to perform as well. And you really don't think about it, but a lot of times, as we're so, time crunched and that sort of thing, it ends up, kind of leaving our mind when it's not a big day or a big race. So sometimes it just happens. So something to think about, and that's what we're here for today. So a lot of time, if for full-time athletes, for example, training 2 times a day or more, they're just under very high load. So if you're doing 2 a days, definitely very, very important. But even as for the single workout riders, dehydration before a session and can definitely be felt when the rest of the day comes along. So just a quick overview there. So the other notion that we wanted to mention or talk about was the tendency to overcompensate, meaning that to drink too much water before performance. And this is in contrast to training sessions. And so, again, the notion that athletes are turning up to training sessions a bit low on fluids. We're talking about 30%, and it's definitely less of an issue for major competitions. Not to say that turning up to an event dehydrated never happens, but a lot of people take a more keen view of it. So obviously a lot of athletes care about their performance in big events, so their eyes are on that constantly to make sure that they're taking care of that. So thing about pre-event hydration, it can vary the whole range from slightly under drinking before training to over drinking before competitions, and each of them have their different set of problems. Obviously, dehydration, coming in dehydrated to a training session can inhibit your performance as well as on the day of. but also over drinking. We're drinking the wrong, I would say, percentage or concentration of things. So the notion goes you should, get really hydrated before a ride or a race. And so what happens is you put in a whole lot of water. And the issue is as we've talked about in other casts before here, is that the balance goes like this. If you've increased the amount of water in your body, but not increased the amount of salt, your body will get a signal that there's just too much water in the body, and it'll dump the water. Hence people talking about they've drank all this water, but they've ended up having to dump it all out or headed to the restroom. So there's a balance. So the question is, what is that balance? What do we need to add? How much do we need to add that can help us kind of hold that in our bodies to make it so that we can keep it going there? So looking at kind of overview of that, so what we're looking at is the lower amount of sodium as you increase water or drink more water will be offset by your body saying that we need to dump it. So the question now becomes, how do we load it properly where the water will stay in and allow us those benefits to be able to get the water in the body and be able to use it during our workouts or during our races. Allow us those benefits. And so here we go. So we do know the idea of carb loading, and it's essentially maximizing the glycogen or our carbohydrate stores in our body and our muscles, our liver, before an activity. Well researched, people do it, and it's definitely performance enhancing. So the next question is how do we do it with water? So with hydration, things are a little bit less clear cut. Essentially, athletes do tend to increase their fluid intake prior to events, but unfortunately, a lot of people end up overdoing it, like we mentioned. So the question comes: can you actually store fluid above your normally hydration, essentially getting hyperhydrated or getting extra fluid in? The question is, it has to do with how much you drink, not how much you drink, but how much sodium you consume with that water, as sodium is what's called an electrolyte. We've heard of that before, and that's the key to the retention of the body. So what we want to do, get this sodium in at a balance that will allow the body to absorb that fluid. And if we're able to do that, the body will hold on to a large majority of it, increasing your blood volume or the amount of sweat or water you have in the body. So without the right amount of sodium in your pre-exercise or night before hydration drinks, a lot of the water would just get dumped out. So essentially, going back to the reason why we're doing it, a higher blood volume means that it's easier for your cardiovascular system while you're exercising to pull from, to lose via sweat if you need to cool the body, but also to cool down the muscles, which also produce a lot of heat. So being hydrated is not only for the sweat that you feel of cooling the body, but also for the muscles inside. So if you're just trying to preload with just water, it ends up with us just running to the restroom and dumping that out again because of the balance. So the message being here, it has to be balanced between the electrolytes and the water. So let's touch on how you preload effectively. So we know we need some amount of water, of course, and then we also need some amount of sodium. And so there is a good amount of science here. So it's a balance, essentially, being aggressive enough to get this extra fluid be held into the body without getting stomach or gastrointestinal pains. So you just need to figure out the balance. So without just drinking water. So there's been studies with some huge amounts of sodium per liter of water, up to 3,600 milligrams, which is a huge amount, 3.6 grams. That's a good amount. Essentially, this is like drinking a bag of saline solution that you would see someone get an IV in. Super, super salty. And definitely is already being used, obviously, to boost plasma volume for patients that need it, that are dehydrated. So definitely something we could use, but it typically, when consumed through the gastrointestinal system or drank, sickness, diarrhea, upsets with that high of a volume. So in a recent study in 2014, there was a study with 4 different concentrations. But to kind of break it down, they found that the higher amounts at 3,600 milligrams per liter, athletes were definitely having side effects. It was very important to kind of dial it back. So this is where our article today from Precision Hydration kind of comes in. They actually make customized electrolyte balances that are tuned for each rider. So definitely look into those. And so what they had postulated or thought of was that something around 1,500 milligrams per liter in their preloading drinks was well tolerated with athletes, which allowed people or athletes to get hydrated without the GI problems, stomach aches, and that sort of thing. So there's an offer of everything from 250, 500, and 1,500 milligrams per liter of a electrolyte solution. Definitely very, very interesting and available. So definitely check out Precision Hydration, and I'll give you more information about that at the end. So with that, we keep that in mind. Having about 1,500 milligrams or 1.5 grams per 32 ounces is what can help rehydrate you after a workout, rehydrate you before, and allow you to hold on to as much of the volume of sweat or water in your body. It's actually pretty simple. In teaspoons, this is a 1/4 teaspoon to 32 ounces, or 1 liter. So if you want to test, we do follow this protocol that they recommend here at Precision Hydration. Let me put out a quick link out here. Perfect. All right. So what we're talking about is the night before, evening before. You're looking at 16 ounces of water or 500 mLs with what they call the pH 1500 or 1,500 milligrams per liter the night before your activity. You're looking at 90 minutes before you start of an event. You drink at least 45 minutes to finish this drink, again, at 500 milliliters and 1,500 milligrams per liter of solute or mix here of milligrams of sodium. And then making sure that you don't just drink lots of water, but you're building up over time. And that's what will allow the absorption slowly to really kind of get that plasma volume or that amount of water held up in the body. So something as easy as adding sodium can make a huge difference in balancing this water equation here versus drinking that same 32, 64 ounces that you normally would. Just a quick why, again, to kind of overview all of what we're talking about today, is we're trying to boost what's called our plasma volume, or essentially sweat in the body or water in the body before intense exercises. There we go. Sorry about that. A good topic. Just going back on the last topic was that 1500 milligrams per liter is almost three times more than a typical sports drink. A lot of times you'll find drinks at around 300 to 500 milligrams in your drinks. And it's okay for continuing hydration during a workout, for example, but to prehydrate, you're definitely needing a higher amount. So those groups that you're seeing, like Precision Hydration, or like Scratch Labs, that have hyperhydration formulas specific for prehydrating, have got it right. This is definitely the science that's on the cutting edge. So preloading with something like this pH 1500 can help you avoid or alleviate or allow the best case scenario for those that are cramping. Although we do know that it does play a role, but not the primary role in cramping, definitely part of the equation. So on hot days, having this on board can make a huge amount of difference. So as far as in comparison to the other sports drink, you would really need to kind of up the ante or up the amount of sodium or electrolytes in order to get, the amount of hydration that you would normally get. And essentially what you end up with is a bunch of water just moving around in your stomach, which none of us like. More so for those riders that have to run after the bike. Why you'd run after the bike, I don't know, but there are. Definitely don't want that. So definitely, if you're looking to optimize your performance, getting this balance right is important. And one thing that this group, Precision Hydration, offers is testing that allows you to know exactly what you do need at each level. They have an online version of the sweat test, as well as you can reach out to them to do an actual personalized test to find out what you need before, during, and after your workout or race. So definitely look them up. So that's what I have today. So quick look at what we talked about today. Talked about essentially how to stay hydrated and why it is important, and that once you start sweating, that essentially you are losing a battle. So keeping this amount of fluid is important, and that we have to be careful of overcompensation before the big day, because it can definitely affect your performance, and that there are ways to load water the same way we load carbohydrates, and that'll allow us what we need. And then how to preload effectively essentially is finding that right balance of sodium to add, or doing something pre-mixed or pre-calculated like they have at Precision Hydration to allow us to get that right for us. And essentially, bottom line being, we want to be able to use either during our workouts and before our workouts to keep on or take on as much water as we can without having to dump it out, being able to maximize their performance. And the key part also being is to be doing this for training and not just our big events. And that's where we're going to get it right. When you work out, you return, you do your training session, you want to be able to get it right and feel good every single time, just as if it was a big event. And I think that is where the key is in getting it right, when it becomes secondhand and you're not having to think about it. So that's what I have today. Let me jump over and see if there's any questions here. Got a couple. Let me see. Oh no, just a couple comments. All right. If there's any questions in Discord, I could take those too, but it doesn't look like there's anything here on WUWP Live. Definitely a good topic today, though. I will post a link to the blog post today from Precision Hydration. You can find it at precisionhydration.com/blogs. If you haven't had a chance to check out the website, there's some questions. Definitely check out the website. There's a question that came up in the chat here about isotonic gels. So definitely fueling during And it's a notion that's come up with a group called SIS, Sport is Science, the same group that fuels Team Sky. So I would say definitely something of note. And as in other talks that we've had with and concerning about fueling, that balance again is really important. So taking a very concentrated gel would be equal to taking a very diluted water drink, essentially with no sodium. You're taking on something that is not balanced, and the body has to do something in order to digest it. In the case of gels, for example, if you took something that, let's say, wasn't or didn't have any water, you'd have to take on that amount of water. And if you actually read the labels carefully, if you read the label carefully, it actually says to drink 8 to 10 ounces of water, 8 to 10 ounces of water with the gel in order to balance out. And essentially that is to dilute the gel. You even have writers that will pre-dilute the gel in order to get the concentration that they're looking for. So that was all about isotonic gels and carbohydrates during exercise. Definitely a great topic, something that we should come back and visit and revisit. Let's see. Got a listener online. I sweat a lot all the time. Never heard it was a bad thing. Oh no, not saying that sweating is a bad thing. I think it is a good thing. I think it allows your body to cool. It speaks to your adaptation to the temperature or effort that you're putting down. We're not saying that you shouldn't sweat. We're just saying that trying to make sure that when you do sweat, that one, you have enough on the body to be able to continue sweating and do its job and that sort of thing. That's what we're looking to do, to optimize that, not to not stop sweating. If that message came across, I apologize. But yeah, so definitely check out the website, precisionhydration.com/blogs. Plenty of good information there. And check out past episodes of In the Feed Zone here on Zwift Live by ODZ. And a really great lineup all through the week of doing What's Up with Power, some great racing here in the Feed Zone, and a really exciting thing that we've had added is you should see a lot of Zwift Academy races, both men and women racing happening here in athletes' pain caves and some behind the scenes actions, as well as some commentary on the ladies' races. So we look forward to that. Definitely join us. Check us out, Zwift Live by ODZ on Facebook and also on YouTube. Subscribe to us there. We're there as well. On Twitch, on Mixer, we're all there. A lot of good co-streams happening on Mixer too, if you're a part of that atmosphere. So, all right, that's all I've got for today. All right, everyone have a great day. Thanks for joining us. See you next week in the Feed Zone.